Hey guys, I'm trying to push myself to open up a little bit more, post some more stuff out there. I stopped myself from posting even just kind of standard things that I might have as a thought or a mention, even if it's not controversial and emotional. I just generally don't post it. Partly, mostly, okay, all because of self doubt, right? Now we all have this. Today I want to talk about emotion, so I'm going to make this happen. So this is pretty vulnerable, and I'm going to do it. What comes of it is going to come of it. So I'll just throw it out to the universe. You use it for what you want. For first responders, I wanted to share a little insight of my thoughts over 20 years on emotion, and it's something that I go through every year. And although this is probably intended for first responders, I think anyone can get something from this if at least understanding how first responders deal with the challenges of their job. So here's what happens. The bad stuff doesn't happen every year. Don't get me wrong. I certainly have good years that tragic stuff doesn't happen. But in my experience, every year when we transition from summer to fall, right? Temperature gets cooler. It's beautiful outside. It looks like we should be hanging out, having fun. We just came off summer, so we expected it to be hot, and then it's cold. So when it was a beautiful morning, but it was a little chilly, and I started getting the feeling immediately. The feeling is that in my experience, September, October, and part of November are tragic months for our family. So in that time period over the years, we've lost a lot of my immediate family in those months. And, well, my immediate family, they've all been lost in those months over time. I haven't lost one every year. That's what I mean by not every year is tragic, but I expect it. And then when I expect it and something bad happens, I say, oh, look, proof that my expectation was rendered correct. Probably just correlation and trying to use one to prove the other when they're not related. But for me, where this comes from is I think I will be depressed for these next few months almost every day. And I'll have to, do things to get through it. I'll go to work, I'll do my job, do what I need to here at the house. But there's just that lackluster feel that you have when you're depressed. For me, the people that have passed away in these months, a lot of them I was involved in some way. My brother, I took the 911 call when he committed suicide. My father, I came home right after the team came by and pronounced him dead, but I took the phone call when I was at work for my mom, who was standing with him when she found him committed suicide. My mom passed away. I was her hospice provider for these months. She passed away in October, a few years ago. Got friends that have passed away in this time period. People I worked with in Iraq have passed away in this time period. I don't know what it is, but that's what it is for me. And so thinking about that emotion, like why does it just turn on, right? I get cold outside when it's supposed to be hot and I get depressed. Weird, right? Well, I think it stems from what I did over the last 20 years of my career. When I was in my early 20s, and this is a little before the first bad incident happened with my family, I found a way to turn off emotion. And I said, this is what I need to do to get through this job, to do what I want to do, to focus, and I don't find any benefit in negative emotion. But in doing so, I turned off all emotion. I built this face, right? I'm happy, now I'm sad, now I'm excited, now I'm surprised. Okay, that's the best I can do. This is the face that built. It took effort. But to do it, I left the switch off. Now that served me really well. I was able to respond to family and friends that were in horrific situations and passed away, and I managed it pretty well, I think, for the most part. Externally, people might say, oh, he's doing good. I didn't, though, right? I just tucked it away and pushed it aside. I got a lot of bad calls, right? I don't know if there's much worse after responding to a family member, but I remember years ago I had a kid that was run over, and they were run over by a family member in their car. They were backed over, didn't know that the kid was there, and the kid was drug a long way. They survived to the hospital, but it didn't seem survivable to me. I didn't follow that one up. After that call, that was one of the first calls, including when stuff happened with my family. That was one of the first calls I couldn't maintain the emotion. And I remember it's super late, and I called my girlfriend at the time, and I spoke to her late at night. First time I really talked about this stuff in an immediate sense with someone who wasn't medical. And she did great. She made me feel the way I should have been made to feel. But I felt embarrassed out of that. And so from then on, you just shove it down deep, right? Well, as I entered my 30s, I realized after coming home from Iraq that through my experiences, I had found a way to turn all that stuff off, but it didn't mean that I was capable of dealing with it. Just walking away from something isn't the same as dealing with it, right? So I found that over the last few years, when I had emotions that I couldn't necessarily, and in some ways didn't want to control and turn off, I can't deal with the swing. And so I think I made myself in some ways incapable of experiencing a wide array of emotion. And that in itself makes life seem a little less vibrant, right? In order to have love, we have to have loss. Loss, we have to have love. When a loved one dies and we're so upset about it, we're devastated, we're grieving. To be honest with you, even though you know you're going to get through it, you don't feel like you will. That only happens because you love that person. First responders, we go to call, they're not somebody we know, it wouldn't serve us well to get emotional about it. And the rest of the world doesn't really get too emotional about the death of people that they're not related to. It's as detached as watching TV, it's as detached as watching a violent movie, it's as detached as playing a violent video game for us. Now, first responders, and not all, but in my experience, first responders manage this by turning the switch off. And I don't know if they turn it on when they get home, but I never really could. And I think that means that when we do get the little instances of beauty in life, of good in life, it's muted, as I said, not as vibrant. And that's difficult. Heck with it. I think we all experience situations in which we contemplate suicide. And for first responders, it's now a part of the job. I wonder if that suicide comes from or at least in some cases, comes from the detachment we have, not just to the calls we run that have us, that evoke emotions in us, but to the things in our life that happen that should evoke emotion in us that we can't deal with. Because if I were to let myself get upset about something in my life, would it open the door for all the other horrible things that I've seen and not dealt with? Because you just roll with it. I don't know if you pretend to be happy, but you just go to the next call, if you will. Through my behavior as a leader, I probably have emoted to others that being stoic and steely is the way that they should be to get this far in their career. And they see that from the people they work with as well, especially from the era that I came from and those before me. Are we now spreading our disease of depression, and some of us have PTSD? Are we spreading that disease in our behavior in the people that we bring under our wing, the people that we work with on their first days? For me to say to a group of students, hey guys, you need to find a way to deal with your emotions. Yeah, okay, cool. And then I talk about how I don't have emotions, not gonna help, right? For me to say that we need to find ways to decompress and let the bad things that we've seen out of our head in a healthy way, but then, and even if it resonated with the student, then that EMT, paramedic, firefighter, cop, whatever, goes on duty, and the person they work with, the two of them run a call, and it's a kid that got drug, it's a person who's had their intestines wrapped around their neck by a family member. They see their friend get shot on duty. I mean, it's endless. Just think how dark the world can be. You've not seen anything on movies. To just put that somewhere in your brain and not let it out. The times that I've been suicidal, it's a mix. The times that I've had suicide thoughts, I haven't been suicidal. I haven't made any plans. I see counselors, but I've felt that way. What happens, it's a mix of your career and whatever's going on in your personal life. They get blurred together anyways. We try to compartmentalize, but it doesn't work. So you have to find a way to do this. You go on those calls and then you tuck it down deep inside, because that's what done as veterans for so many years. The person that we just taught should find ways of dealing with their emotion, sees us emotionless. What are they going to learn? They don't want to go off of what I taught them. They want to go off of what they're seeing from the partner that they look up to, that's got years of service, that they've seen do the work. They haven't seen me do the work. I talk about it. From the person they see do the work, that's who they're going to embody their professional behavior. And because this job requires the amount of emotion, and in some ways we have to manage it some way, good or bad, we have to do something about it. Because of those things, we're setting them up without the right tools. And I fear that we're maybe even making this epidemic of suicide and first responders worse. Now, I'm depressed. I have a counselor. I'll be all right. But many people don't. And many people don't even know that they're depressed, or that those aren't normal things to see. I'm a lucky one. Not everybody has the support that I have. And we can't expect people to just come up and say, I'm having a hard time with this. I didn't do it. You didn't do it. They're not going to do it. Every first responder watching this is a leader. You are showing how other people should do it in every step of the day. You don't get to say, I'm a good leader today. Oh, today I don't feel like a leader. It happens. We need to start asking the question, are you okay? And ask yourself, did you ask for help? Did you take it upon yourself to talk about the things that you saw? If we turn the switch off, more of us are going to die. It's unethical for us to teach people how to do this job if we don't teach them how to survive the job. How's that for vulnerable, huh? Well, I'll be true to my word. I'm going to post this. Do what you do with it. If you choose not to ask, are we complicit? Be safe out there. Be kind to one another. Take care of yourself. Feel what you feel. No one's going to do it for you. Peace.